looking for a boost in height to your 2017 through 2022 four-wheel drive F-250 for some better capability and a much needed improvement in the appearance, this BDS 2-inch front coil spring leveling kit with NX2 Nitro front and rear shocks is a solid pick for you. Now this kit offers a well-built and inclusive combination of parts for a solid lift in the front end to even out the rake if you're looking for a more leveled stance on your truck and to of course fit a larger set of tires that you may be eyeing up. This also serves as a good way to get an increase in that ride height as well as swap out any worn or damaged shocks for an improvement in ride quality and performance compared to the OE components at a pretty affordable price point. The biggest feature here is the height increase, swapping out those springs for a taller option while maintaining a progressive spring rate, which will add some comfortability and good handling characteristics into your ride, which is very important for those daily drivers out there. Now that additional height up front also allows for better ground clearance, a more aggressive and defined look to the truck overall, and allows the ability to fit up to a 35-inch tire in the wheel well very comfortably without the need for modifications. Now the shocks are also long enough to accommodate for that added height, maintaining the proper traction, which is very important, and the included twin tube gas charged build here has 10-stage velocity sensitive valving for adaptable and comfortable performance. Now this kit also features a track bar relocation bracket, which is very important when you are lifting on a solid axle. This is going to relocate that track bar to the proper position to maintain the correct alignment and maintain your current ride quality. Now taking a look at the construction, we're going to start with the springs because they're the most straightforward out of this kit here. These are going to be made of a wound steel and a black powder coat finish on top to resist any rusting on the steel underneath. It's also made of steel with a black powder coat is this track bar bracket. This is made of very thick steel, so you can ensure that this will keep the axle center and keep your track bar in place. Now the shocks, they have a more in-depth construction. So the body is made of a steel construction. It's 2 inches in size, a good amount of capacity as far as heat dissipation is concerned and overall valving. You also have a 1 3/8 inch piston on the inside and a 14mm hardened chromed shaft, as well as dual welded ends. All of that makes for a very durable construction. So if you do take your Super Duty off-road, these are going to stay in good shape, especially the shaft here. It's going to resist any nicks or damage, which could potentially cause leaking. Not going to happen here. These also have self-lubricating seals on the inside, which will allow a longer lifespan, and they do come with polyurethane bushings in the kit. You will have to install them. They don't come pre-installed. However, those are going to be a little bit stiffer than the factory ones, which will resist wear over time, especially if you're abusing your truck a little bit more with this setup on it. Now, this kit also has all of the hardware in the kit in order to install it, so no questions asked once it comes time to install. You're not going to have to outsource or look for any parts because this kit includes it all. This kit will come in at around $700 and is one of the most affordable options for a front leveling kit on the page for what's included. Now, in general, this is a middle of the road choice, including springs and shocks in comparison to something more economical like a spacer lift. Now, this will offer more performance and a different ride quality compared to stock or compared to a spacer lift because you are making a big change with the shocks as well as the springs. They'll add some performance compared to something a bit more economical. Now, on the other hand, this is only a leveling kit. It's not a full lift kit and it's pretty mild in height, so there's not a big need for many more components other than what's included in this kit. Now, I think if you're looking for that middle of the road height, you want to keep to a leveling kit, but you want more out of the performance and the ride. When it comes to a leveling kit compared to a spacer, then this is going to be a fantastic option for you. Install here is a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. I would recommend some mechanical experience in order to tackle this job, and with the right tools and right setup, it should take you about 4 hours or so to complete. Now, BDS does state that the one only specialty tool that is required for this is a 30mm socket, so just make sure you have that one on hand if you are tackling this yourself. Now, at this point, we're gonna head over to the shop, and one of our installers here is gonna show you a detailed breakdown on how this bolts up to the the F-250, whether you're tackling this job yourself or you're just curious about how it bolts up. So that is gonna wrap it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get to the install.
For this install, you will need a large pry bar, dead blow and regular hammers, various impacts of various size ratchets, an extension, a 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter if necessary, 10, 13, 15, shallow and deep 18, 21 and 30 millimeter sockets, a 1 1/8 inch socket, a large socket for hammering, 19 millimeter ratchet wrench, 21 and 30 millimeter wrenches, some needle nose pliers, an air hammer with dull and chisel ends, a pry bar, and also not shown here is a vise, lubricant, and a jack and jack stands. What's up guys, today we're going to be installing a lift kit on our F-250, but before we get started, we're going to send you to watch a quick video on how to remove your front suspension. We're also going to move to the rear after that, so we'll see you when you get back. Alright guys, so now we're on to the rear of our truck. Now we've got it up in the air, got the wheels off. We also have a pole jack under the side of the rear differential that we're going to be swapping the shock out. This shock is held on by an 18 millimeter bolt and a 21 millimeter nut at the bottom, and then it has a single 18 millimeter nut holding it onto its mounting stud up top on the frame. So we'll get in there with an 18 millimeter socket on our impact and a 21 millimeter wrench and get that off. So now we'll take our bottom mounting bolt off first. Now we'll get our top mounting nut off. You may need an extension for this one. Put that off, grab our shock, work that off of our mounting stud. Now once you've got this side off, you can do the same thing for the other side.
First thing we're going to do is make sure we have our truck secure and safe. I jacked it up. We have it on a lift right now, but I do have a jack underneath the center of the rear, which you're going to need to do after you get it jacked up and supported, however you're doing that. If you're doing this in your driveway, you're going to want to use jack stands. So what I did was I have it on the lift here. I have a jack under the center of the rear to hold the rear up, because we're going to be loosening the suspension up so we can drop the rear down so we can remove our coil springs. So you want to just make sure you jack it up high enough when you put your jack stands under. That way you can get your jack in the center of the rear. And then we'll start removing our suspension here. We'll start by removing our brake hose, our shock, our sway bar, and then we'll be able to take our jack and start lowering the rear down. So let's jump into this and we'll start removing our upper bracket here for our brake hose. So first thing we're going to do is remove this 13 millimeter bolt here. I'm going to take my 3/8 gun with my 13 millimeter socket, remove this bolt right here. And once we get that bolt out and removed, we'll be able to drop the brake hose down. And you're going to want to repeat this same procedure on the other side, because it's going to allow us that both sides are going to have to be undone so that we can drop the rear out. So now we're going to remove our shock bolt right down here. I'm going to take a breaker bar with an 18 millimeter socket and break this loose. It is on there pretty tight. And once I get it loose, I will take my 3/8 gun with my 18 millimeter on, get in place. And then I'll ratchet this the rest of the way out. I'm gonna take my 1/2 inch drive now with my 18 millimeter on it and just ratchet this out the rest of the way. So now we have that out. You're going to want to repeat that procedure on the other side too. And now we'll go up to our sway bar. So now we're going to remove our sway bar nuts right here. There's one here and then one right here. I'm going to take my 15 millimeter, my 3/8 gun, loosen these up, then loosen the other side up, then we'll drop the sway bar down. So now you're going to want to repeat that on the opposite side. So now I have the other side disconnected too. I'm just going to pull our sway bar down. You're going to want to be careful. This thing can be a little bit heavy, but it should just fall down just like that, which will allow our rear to drop down then. So now we're going to take our clip removal tool. We're going to pop off this clip here. This is going to allow the rear to hang down. It's kind of pulling tight on this already. So So I'm just going to pop this off. Pretty much like that. Get that out of the way. And then our vent tube on our rear here, I'm just going to twist and pull up and remove that. That will allow our rear to hang down when we start letting the jack down. So now we have everything disconnected, our shock, our front sway bar links on both sides. I have my shock removed on that side. I unhooked our connectors here for our vent tube. Our brake lines are disconnected. We're going to be able to take our jack and just start lowering the rear down. That's going to loosen up these springs and let these springs come out, and then we'll remove our springs. So now we have our rear drop down. We're going to be able to easily grab our spring, pick it up, and remove it right out of the location. So now I have our coil spring removed. We're just going to look at our pad down here and notice that there is a notch right here where my finger is. This notch is where when we put the coil spring back in, you're going to want to make sure that the bottom of the coil rests down inside here so that you don't want to have it spun around, because it is meant to seat in here so it doesn't spin. So just make sure when you put it back together, you put the bottom of the coil right into there. You'll see it fits right into that slot. So now we're going to remove our bump stop. I'm going to get up in here with a screwdriver, pry this baby out, like so. Now we're going to remove our cup that holds the bump stop in. I'm going to take my 10mm on my 3/8 gun, get up inside here. There's a nut, or a bolt, I should say, right here. We're going to remove that. Now you're going to want to just repeat this uninstall procedure on the other side.
Alrighty guys, welcome back. Now that we have up to our spring out, we're also going to need to remove our front shock completely for our new kit. Now you have a 21mm nut holding the top of the strut in, so you'll need a 21mm ratchet wrench and possibly a thin wall 19mm wrench or a pair of vice grips. Now you can hold this, sometimes it will work, sometimes you do need the vice grips or the wrench. We do have ours already loosened up. You want to come in, get onto that nut, just loosen that up, and that'll pop out. You also want to make sure to grab your upper bushing and nut. We can set this aside, and then once you have this done on this side, you can do the same thing for the other side. Alrighty guys, so now that we have our shock removed, this kit also comes with a track bar relocation kit. So we're going to need to remove the track bar and bracket from the upper mounting portion here. Now it's held in by one 30mm bolt with a 30mm nut, and then the bracket itself is held in with 5 bolts. As you can see, you have these 2. You also have 3 back along the other side of the bracket facing out towards this way that we're going to need to remove the mounting nuts for as well. But we're going to start with our track bar bolt. So we've got a 30mm wrench and a 30mm socket on our impact. We'll pop this off now. One thing to note is your differential is going to shift a bit when you take this out, so just don't be surprised about that. We'll remove our nut. Now we're going to need to work our bolt out. Just get that moving a bit. Even apply some force on the back side of it. So we're going to take a dead blow mallet. This is a little bit. Now our track bar is pretty stuck in the bracket, so if yours is as well, you can take a pry bar, get it up in here. Our track bar is going to fall down, and as you can see, the differential is already shifting. You just want to go slow and steady with this. Your track bar is going to fall down once you pop it loose. Next, we're going to remove the 2 18mm bolts holding the outer portion of our bracket in place. So we've got our 18mm socket. So next, we're going to get under the front of the vehicle and remove the 3 mounting nuts on the far side of our bracket. Now this is going to be difficult to see, but if you're looking at the bracket from underneath of the front, you will be able to tell where they're at. Now we'll get in here with our 21mm socket and extension. Get our last nut off. And we'll take our factory bracket and remove it. You want to make sure that triple bolt plate stays in place. All right guys, so before we can install our new rear shocks, we need to install the provided bushings and the sleeve for the lower mount. So what we're gonna do is grab our provided bushings. There's gonna be a larger one and a smaller one. This smaller one is gonna go into the top mount, that's gonna go into the upper stud. The larger one is gonna allow for your sleeve to go into it. Now, this sleeve is pretty easy to push in as it sits, so you can just push that into place in this lower bushing. However, to make things a little easier going into the mount itself, we're gonna add some lubricant to our bushing. We're using Brake Parts lubricant. Honestly, this stuff is really good for all things bushings or isolators on your exhaust. It's just good stuff. Now, if you don't have this, you can use like a silicone spray or something like that, but this stuff works really, really well. So we'll coat our bushing very nicely. We're also gonna add a little bit to our lower mount. Now the lower mount is gonna be on the shaft side, not the main body. Just add a little bit into here. Trust me, this is just gonna make things easier. And we're gonna get this started and get this into our vise. And we're gonna start to close that. And make sure to keep this as even as possible in your grips on your vise. Slowly work that into place. And we're just looking to get it past the halfway point in the vise, and that sleeve is going to prevent it from crushing. Now, once we have it to this point where it's flush, we'll take it behind the vise, pop that through, and we'll re-center up our sleeve. Now you can also take a hammer if you have something with more of a gap. When doing that, you want to make sure you're holding the shaft like I did. You don't want to mess that up in its alignment going into the body. So we have that side done. Come over to our upper mounting bushing. And we're just going to add some lubricant to that, as well as our mounting sleeve. And same deal. Get this lined up. Open our vise back up. Now this one's going to be much easier to get in because it does not have that inner sleeve. Another thing to keep in mind, you don't want to have your vice grips on the actual body of the shock. These are gas pressurized. You don't want to damage those or yourself in the process. And that one pops right through. And once you've got this side installed, you can repeat the same process for your other shock. Now we'll get our shock onto its upper mounting stud. Slide that into place. Definitely going to be a tight fit at first. Just working on so you can catch some threads with your factory 18mm nut. And we're going to leave that loose. We'll get our lower mounting point installed. Now we'll get our lower mounting point in place. You will need to compress your shock a bit. Again, it's probably going to be a little bit of a tight fit at first. We'll work that into place. We're going to reuse our factory hardware. And once you have your bolt through, you can reinstall your factory 21mm nut. We'll tighten that down with our 21mm wrench and our 18mm socket. Once we have that done, we can tighten down our upper mounting nut. Now we'll come in with our 18mm socket and extension, tighten down our upper mounting nut. Now once you have this side installed, you can repeat the same process for the other side. All right guys, so now we're going to install our new track bar bracket. We're going to line this up with our triple bolt plate first. Sometimes that's easier said than done. If you are having troubles, you can take this out for now. We'll get the 2 bolts in here first. That one in. And we'll get our triple bolt plate back into place. Now we've also got our 21mm nuts loosely back in place on our bolt plate. You want to do that first, but don't tighten them just yet. We're going to tighten down our 2 forward 18mm bolts first. And once you have these tight, you can go back in and tighten back down your 21mm nuts. Alright guys, so now we're ready to begin installing our front shock. So just like with the rear, we're going to need to install our bushing and sleeve for our bottom mount. Once again, we'll grab our lubricant, a little bit in the bushing sleeve. Just do a light coat on the actual bushing. We'll get that into position, get into our vise. Once again, you want to make sure this is nice and straight. That one's going to slide right in. I'll bring that back out. We'll get our sleeve started. Get that into place. Now this should go in pretty smoothly and easily with the vise, so if you feel any binding or if it's having a lot of trouble, stop what you're doing and check it out to see if it's in alignment. And once you have this one done, you can do the same thing for the other shock. So now we're ready to install our shock. So we've got our bottom washer and bushing onto our upper mounting stud. We're gonna get that into the factory mounting point. We're gonna add in our upper bushing and our upper washer as well. And we're gonna install our provided 19mm nut. We're just gonna get that hand tight for now because we want to be able to move it around to line it up with our bottom mount. So now it's time to get our new spring in place. Now we are going to be reusing the factory upper isolator. It simply just pulls out of the factory spring, so you want to grab that out of there. And then there is a recess for the top coil. We're going to line that up just as it was on the factory one. Get that into place at the top of our new spring. Now we can set that into position. Remember, you have a locator for the bottom coil as well on your bottom pad. Get that lined up, make sure that bottom coil sits into place. So now once you have this side done, you can do the same thing on the other side. And if you're doing this at home on jack stands with jacks, you now want to raise the front differential up with your jacks. Or if you're doing it on a lift like we are, we can lower the vehicle to kind of lock these springs into place at their upper perches. Now we have our truck lowered down and our springs are trapped and our lower shock mounting point is lined up with the bracket. So we're gonna get our factory 18mm bolt back into place. Might have to wiggle it around a little bit to get it through. Now before you get it all the way through, you want to grab your factory flag nut, get that lined up, get this through. We'll get the bolts started. We'll tighten that back down with our 18mm socket. Now we can tighten down our top mounting nut with our 19mm ratchet wrench. And once you have this side in, you can do the same thing for the other side. And once you have this side in, you can do the same thing for the other side. So now we can get our track bar into place on our relocation bracket. You may have to turn this to line it up, get that lined up, and reuse our factory bolt. Might have to persuade it into place a little bit. And once you have that all the way through, we're gonna reinstall our 30mm nut. Again, it makes it much easier to get this back into place if you wait until all of your suspension components are back in, but don't reinstall your sway bar before you do your track bar. Now we'll tighten this back down using our 30mm wrench and our 30mm socket with an extension this time on our impact. So now we can reattach our sway bar, so we're going to get this pulled back up and lined back up on our two mounting studs for each side and reinstall our 15mm nuts. And make sure you're not pinching any brackets. All right, so once you've got both of your brackets back in place and you've got your nuts loosely reinstalled, we'll take our 15mm socket and tighten these back down. Now you do want to alternate the sides when tightening these so your bracket goes back on evenly. And once you've got this side tight, you can do the same thing for the other side. All right, guys, so before we reinstall our brake line brackets, there's one more thing we need to do, which is install our new alignment cams into our knuckle. So we're going to need to remove our castle nut for our upper ball joint and get our factory alignment cam out. So we've got some needle nose pliers. We're going to take our cotter pin out first. Now, these can be a little bit of a pain, especially if you've never taken them out. You just want to get them as straight as possible so they'll go through our upper ball joint stud. Just work that until it starts coming out of the other side. And the straighter these are, the easier it is. So now if you are having trouble getting this cotter pin out, if you get it to the point where you can hook your needle nose in through the end, the closed end that is, you can hook that in and take a hammer and just tap that out. Now that we have our cotter pin out, we need to remove our castle nut with a 1 1/8 inch socket. Now you may need to use a breaker bar for this. Get it loose. Now we also soaked our alignment cam with PB Blaster long before we started to try to take it off. You definitely want to do that before you start any install process to give it time to soak. So now that we've got this broke loose, we've got our ratchet. Get this off. The next thing we're going to need to do is release our stud for our upper ball joint from the seat in the alignment pin and the knuckle. Now you want to make sure you don't hit your brake lines while doing this. We're going to first try it with a dead blow mallet on the top of the stud. You want to be very careful not to damage your threads on your upper ball joint. Now ours is being a little stubborn, so we've got our ball joint puller and we're using our 16 mil ratchet wrench. This is going to be under pressure, so you definitely want to be careful if you are using this. Make sure it stays lined up. All right, so now ours is being pretty stubborn, so we're going to take an air hammer, go right down on the top of the stud. As you can see, that's actually pulling that alignment cam up and out. Once we get to a certain point, if it does end up working like this for you, you take an air hammer, pop that the rest of the way out. All right guys, so now we've got our 2 new alignment cams in our hands. Now you have one that's marked 2.6 degrees and one that's marked 2.3 degrees. We're on the passenger side, so we're gonna use the 2.6 degree cam on this side, and the 2.3 degree is gonna go on your driver's side. Now there is also an indication arrow of which direction you want this to face. The arrow should be facing towards the front of the vehicle, and then the straight sides should be lined up with the back side of your pad. We'll get this into place. I'll line that up with the hole best you can. You need to move your knuckle around to get it to start and sit evenly. Now to get this into place, we're going to use a large impact socket and our hammer. Be careful not to hit your springs, but it is kind of tough to get it lined up. Not hit it a few times. You just definitely want to make sure not to hit your brake lines. That's much more important. As you can see, that's flush and straight with the back side. Now once you have that in place, we can reinstall our castle nut. Tighten that back down. Our 1.1/8" socket. So now you can either reinstall or install a new cotter pin. Now these do not come with your kit, but they are readily available at all hardware or auto parts stores for a couple cents per. And once you get that through, there's no real wrong way to bend a cotter pin as long as it's blocking the nut from backing out and staying in place. Now once you're installing everything, you want to make sure to torque all of your hardware down to the manufacturer recommended specifications. And once we've got everything in, we can reinstall our brake line bracket. So we'll grab that 10mm screw, get that back into place, and tighten that back down. And if you removed your upper brake line bracket, you can use your 13mm socket and reinstall that. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our BDS 2-inch front coil spring leveling kit with NX2 Nitro front and rear shocks for your 17 to 22 4-wheel drive F-250 Super Duty. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything F-250, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.